Ok, y escucha bien, yo soy la dueña, la que gana este game. De lejos se nota que no.
To give y'all a little rundown, show y'all what my prison life consisted of in 8 years. I'm Muslim, so I got a lot of Islamic literature. Okay, so I went for this interview, and I went across the highway and shit, and yeah, cause that's how you gotta get to the sheets, is you gotta cross the damn highway, and I almost got hit by a car.
When an ex-con gets released from prison, what they do in the first 90 days is critical. If they fail to get their affairs in order and find gainful employment, then 9 times out of 10, they will find themselves in a cell once again. However, 1/3 of lawbreakers will never reoffend. For them, reentry began well before their release. These are their success stories.
Congratulations on getting out and staying out. You out here thriving. We're going to get to that in a minute. I want to get into your background first real quick. So where you grow up at? Where you from?
I was born in Columbia, PA, but then I moved to Lancaster when I was young, about I think 6 or 7 years old, somewhere around there. And then the rest of my time was spent in Lancaster.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you come from a big family? Like, describe your childhood for me.
I wouldn't say we have a good sized family, but we weren't all like well connected, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So we were it was more so just me, my mom, my sister, my brother, and that was as far as the family went. Yeah, every now and then we went to cookouts and stuff, and that's when you'll see the family. But
Okay.
as far as like being in contact with everyone, not too much.
What did you want to be when you grew up? Do you remember?
I remember when I was real younger, you know, the typical answer was like basketball player, football player.
Yeah.
But then as I got older, wasn't too sure. I was like indecisive on what I wanted to be. There was just so many things. I always liked basketball and football, but I wasn't like a major athlete. You know what I mean? I played basketball for a rec center when I was a kid, and I played football for a team when I was younger. But it wasn't something that was like I was real serious about. You know what I mean? But as far as other things, there was a time I wanted to volunteer and be a firefighter and EMS, stuff like that, but never went through with anything.
So you had good aspirations. How did you end up behind bars? Could you pinpoint the moment your life shifted and started going downhill?
Yeah, actually, when I just graduated high school when I was, I say 18. You know, the pressure was on me because my girlfriend at the time was pregnant with our child. So, you know, I didn't have no money coming in. I'm fresh out of high school. And my mom was on me about getting a job so I could help pay for the rent and stuff like that. And, you know, just the pressure of all of that kind of weighed down on me. So, you know, I put in applications and things everywhere. And back then in 2012, 13, 14, wherever, all pre-COVID stuff, it was harder to get a job, you know, because everybody was working. But so back then, you know, nobody was hiring me because I had a juvenile record. I had 1 point on my record. It was a felony. And for some reason, jobs will hold that against you. You know what I mean? So I had that when I was 14. That shouldn't have been used against me, but it was. But nowhere was hiring. So one day my boy joined the National Guard, and I was interested. So he gave me his sergeant's number. I called the sergeant, and the sergeant asked me if I had any fines or anything that needed paid off. And I told him, yeah, because I had a $650 fine from when I got that juvenile case. So that needed to be paid off, but because I didn't have a job, I couldn't pay it off. So then I had a childhood friend come back down from North Carolina, and you know, he had a bunch of money in his pockets all the time. And I asked him, I'm like, you know, what do you do? Where are you getting all this money? And he basically told me, you know, he hits licks and stuff like that. And wherever my mind was at the time, obviously in the gutter, I was like, oh yeah, well, let's do it. I'm down. And the goal was just to get enough money so I could pay the fine. I ended up getting greedy, and I thought I was going to become like some criminal mastermind and make like a career out of it. And I'm glad I didn't, because, you know, I needed to be sat down and sent away for a little bit.
How long was it?
8 to 20 years is what they gave me. And I went in when I was 19, just turning 20. So I got out when I was 27, just turning 28. You know what I mean? Yeah, 8 years. Yep.
How is it? Are you still on parole?
Yep. I'm on parole for once we hit January again, I still got 10 more years of parole. Yep.
How is it hard, or how is it with your agent and stuff?
I wouldn't say parole is hard at all. Like when I came home, when you're upstate, everybody always says, parole's hard, because you got these guys coming back for violations and stuff like that. But I found out very quickly that parole's not hard. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're gonna stay out. You know what I mean? So when I came home, though, I did have it in my head that, oh, this is gonna be hard. And my cousin told me one thing I'll never forget is he basically said, if you're doing what you got to do out here, you don't need to look over your shoulder. So you're not going to even know you're on parole until your PO hits you up and say, hey, I got to come see you for your monthly or your 90-day visit. And then you'll remember you're on parole. But after that, you'll forget all over again. He was like, if you just do right, you ain't worried about it. Yeah. And that's how I've been living. Like, some days I forget I have a PO. But I'm not out here doing nothing dumb. You know what I mean?
All right, let's hop on a time machine real quick. You in court. The judge just gave you your sentence. At that point, what's going through your mind? How you feel? He said 8 to 20 years.
Well, it didn't really happen right in court. It was about a week before my court date when I went into the holding cell down at the courthouse. Everybody in the county always is given like three different deals. So usually they come with the first one. And people will turn it down like, oh, nah, I can get lesser than that. So my lawyer came in and told me, yeah, they want to do 8 to 20. And I'm thinking, I'm going to do like what everyone else does. I'm like, nah, I don't want that. He was like, well, this is the only offer they're actually putting on the table because, your co-defendant's willing to testify on you and they have a lot against you. So it's either 8 to 20 or we take it to trial. And he was like, I'm going to let you know now, we're going to lose. And he was a paid lawyer. Like, we got a good lawyer, and he was known in Lancaster for being a good lawyer, so I know he wasn't lying to me. And right then when he told me that, I kind of got quiet, just shut down. I didn't really know what to say or think about it at the time, because he said if we lose trial, they'll most likely throw 40 at me. So the only thing in my head at that time was 8 was certainly better than 40, you know what I mean? But a week later is when I got sentenced. But that same day, when I had went back to the block, I got back to the prison and all that, I called my mom, and that was actually one of the first times I was in the county that I cried. So it was like 10 months later. I was already in the county for 10 months. And I told her, and I just started crying because, once they throw a number at you, like a pretty good number that's high, pretty much everything flashes before your eyes. Like things that are going to happen and go down while you're in prison. Your family's going to grow up without you. You're going to miss out on your family, your son, your kids, and you're going to be stuck. You know what I mean? Yeah, yep. Especially at the time, my son was only 4 months old. Yeah, and a big factor in my life was my nieces. So to me, I was looking at them not necessarily like my kids, but sort of like my kids, So just knowing that they were about to be growing up and I wasn't there to see it, that hurt a lot too,
Son of your family, what's the main thing you miss most about being free?
The freedom to do whatever you want. Yeah, just eating what you want, when you want, not being told how to move and, everything. Just, you literally lose your freedom to do anything.
What was your experience like in jail? Because you see people on TV and reality shows, they can seem like it's nothing, like it's all fun and games. So was it like that for you? Like, was it a different, like, how is it really in prison? Like, after all the fun you can have, and you got a tab, and you got cake sales, and forget all of that, how is it?
The real experience, I would say, it's funny though, because before I went to prison, I've never been to prison. So I tried to prepare myself. But the funny thing about that is you can't prepare yourself for something you don't have no experience with. So you can do whatever. So I was out there watching TV shows like Locked Up Raw and stuff. And in reality, I was more so honestly scaring myself because I was watching like San Quentin ones, you know what I mean? And they're way different. But when you first go in, everything is confusing. It's confusing. It's very new, which anything new to anyone is usually scary. You know what I mean? So you go in there, it's just different. The dull paint, Everything's the same color, like gray and real light brown, like it's real repetitive to your eyes, and it's just instant depression come over you. So, throughout the first couple years were the worst, you know what I mean? Until I hit my halfway mark where I was finally like, yo, I'm halfway. You know what I mean? Just half more. But it's prison. First and foremost, it's boring as hell. You know what I mean? It's boring. You know what I mean? That's literally what they're doing, is they're boring you to death. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's tough just being away from your family. As far as like having to move a certain way in PA, it's not too difficult, but still, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but it's like difficult.
You ever had any altercations or fights or anything in there?
Yeah. It started in the county. Actually, I had 3 fights right in the county. The county's a little tougher than state itself when it comes to people, because everybody's fresh in.
Yeah.
Emotions are high on everybody's end, and a lot of tension, less time out the cell. But yeah, my first fight was actually over handball. Like, it's crazy that you think about it now, and you're like, dang, I got into a fight over a child's game. You know what I mean? Yeah, yep. And then I had 2 other ones. One was a beef I had on the street prior to coming in, because I was still a teenager. But, and then another one was some other corny stuff. Some dude was talking about my mom. He didn't even know my mom, but stuff that still affected me when I was 19. Like, oh, you talking about my mom? You know what I mean? But I won't even care anymore. You know what I mean?
Some of the things that got you through your prison time, I know it wasn't easy though.
Oh, nah, absolutely wasn't easy. Some days were better than others, but never easy. You know what I mean? So,
like on the hard days, like what did you do just to get through?
On the hard days, first thing I could think of was I needed to call home. Like, I have to hear somebody's voice. I got to know that everything's good out there, and that's one thing that got me through the day. And then afterwards, I have to make myself work out so I can release like some type of stress, anger, whatever it is that's going through my mind. I did a lot of reading. Reading and studying was a big thing, and just staying to myself for the most part. But that's what really got me through my days up there.
What did you do to prepare for success on the outside while you were in there?
The first and foremost was, I came up with a plan. You got to come up with a plan, and I bought a couple composition notebooks, and throughout my years, I just kept writing and writing and writing.
Okay.
I wrote down what I wanted to do, how I was going to do it, how was I going to get the money to do it. You know what I mean? And I had to make sure everything I was doing was legal. You know what I mean? So that's how I did that. And then, I took groups. I voluntarily took groups, like a lot of things, a lot of groups that people would naturally have pride in, like, oh, I'm not taking that, or that doesn't work. I'd be like, you know what? I think it could work if you want it to work. So I'd sign up for groups, and
What did they do in the groups?
certain groups, like I can't really. After being out for almost 2 years, you kind of forget a lot of the stuff in there. But
Do you remember any of the names of the groups?
I know you have violence prevention, and that one I specifically remember. They teach you a thing which I still use to out here. It's like people, places, or person, places, and things. And what they mean by that is, like, say I came out here and I had some old friends from before prison, and they're still doing the things that they used to do. They're like, you got to think, is that gonna keep you or put you back in prison if you're hanging around them? Because that's the person. Now the places would be, you think you should be at bars or clubs like that? Because you got to think further, like, is there going to be a problem there? You know what I mean? Because these are all things that will just get you sent back. So anytime somebody hits me up to chill or anything, it sounds corny, but it is what it is. I think person, place, and things. You know what I mean? And after 2 years, I did a lot of cutting people off. So there's very few people I hang out with. And so I don't really have much to worry about on that anymore. I don't do clubs or bars, none of that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm in the slow lane, one day at a time. Yeah.
So was there anything about your whole prison experience you'll never forget? Like, did any one thing stand out, or is it like just overall?
I would say an overall of things. And then there's, you have individual things, but in general, like I said, overall, just waking up every day, putting on the same brown clothes, seeing the same colors every day, just the repetition of things, just having to do the same thing over, and they have you on their routine, not your routine.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, chow time. And you're already in your head, you're like, oh, it's going to be some crap. You know what I mean? And it's just the treatment from certain guards, stuff like that. There's a lot, you know what I mean? I think my biggest thing was there's things I like to do out here that I couldn't do there. Like at any given moment, I'd be like, oh, I need to take a nap. Just go to my cell and take a nap. You can't always do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being able to cook and make your food you like, you can't do that. You can, but with the stuff they have, and it still doesn't compare to what's out here. One of my biggest things is being able to use the bathroom or shower in peace by yourself. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
You couldn't use the bathroom by yourself?
You can, like, let's say it's block out and everybody's out on the block outside the cells, or if your cellie's out using the phone. But there's times where it's lockdown time and you're both in the cell and you got to put up a sheet so you can divide his space and your space. Yeah, and vice versa. So now you got to smell what's going on and cooking up. Yeah.
How big is the cell? Like, you got room to breathe?
So I would say barely. You know what I mean? It's bigger than some cells, but not big enough. Like I would say maybe probably as long from here to this plant right here, and then as wide as this, and maybe one more of these. That's how wide it is. It ain't too big.
All right, so that's behind you. How did it feel when you finally released, walking out that door?
Well, that feeling started when I actually got my green sheet. You know what I mean? When I first got my green sheet, they called me down there. The green sheet is basically, from what I know, it used to be you'd be a green piece of paper, but I guess it's white now. You know, it's just, but the name stuck. So the green sheet is what tells you whether you're going home or not. It's going to tell you how much longer you're about to do or if you're going home. So mine told me I was being released, and it felt unreal. Like I was happy, but at the same time, it felt unreal because I've watched so many people up there on their first time go see Parole and they get hits. Yeah, but since it was my first time and they let me out, I'm like, wow, this is unreal. I went back to my cell. That was like one of the few times in prison, like I mentioned earlier, that I cried in prison. That was one of the other few times where I shed tears. I was like, man, I'm going home. Yeah, but once I got out, it felt unreal for the first couple months. And there's still times where I'm like, I think about it, I sit down and I reflect on how I'm doing in life and where I'm coming from, because I always got prison in my rear view mirror. And that's what's really pushing me, because I never want to go back. But there's times I reflect and I'm like, dang, I'm out of prison. And I've already been out here almost 2 years, but I still think about it all the time.
What's different about you? Why aren't you going back? I know that having prison in your rearview mirror is one motivating factor, but how is the mindset changing? What's different now?
The mindset change, it started in prison, and it started by leaving the people that were still doing dumb stuff, putting them to the side, and surrounding myself with business-minded, like-minded people and people that wanted to do good in life. So it all started in there. When I came home, I just got right to working, and I knew that if I wanted to stay out, I just got to do it right. So, eventually I kept going and going, but there was a time that came and I'm like, dang, these 12-hour shifts, they're killing me. And, there was times I had thoughts like, oh, I could always go back, but it's just a thought, because I have the willpower to just say no, like, because it's do that, get a little bit of money, go to prison, and then end up with nothing again. So that's all I tell myself is it ain't even worth it. So I was like, what am I going to do to start my business faster than what I wanted to? So I had to sit down after work a lot and get working on that. And what really motivates me is my family. You know what I mean? I want to make them proud.
You actually started a business?
Yeah, I have a mobile detailing business. And I've been doing that now for about 4 months. The crazy thing about that is I learned how to detail cars in prison. Yeah, so my last 2 years of prison, I was given outside clearance, which means, you've been trusted enough now and you haven't been written up for a while to be able to work outside the fence. They trust you not to run and stuff like that. And I signed up for a job outside the fence, and they put me in the mechanic shop. So you had one bay was the mechanic area, and the other one was the detail bay. And they put me in the detail bay because I don't know mechanic stuff. But He showed me how to detail cars and stuff like that, and I didn't think nothing of it. I was like, and when I was doing it, I was like, man, this is corny. But I was doing it because I was outside the fence. You know what I mean? Got to see over the mountaintops and stuff like that, and yeah. But I didn't ever think of actually starting a business doing that until I thought about it a couple months ago. I was like, man, the startup cost is low. I know how to do it. So I just went and got everything and I'm doing it. You know what I mean? And the business is booming quicker than ever. Like I didn't think it would pick up so fast, but it did.
Did the parole agent give you a hard time starting a business?
Well, I actually called my PO one time when I was working, or when I got off work, and I told him, hey, like I'm thinking about starting a business, and I was wondering if you have any like information or like resources that could help me. And he like laughed, but like I had mentioned to you when we were talking, off camera, it was a laugh of not like mocking me, but like just sort of like, a laugh of I've heard this plenty of times before from all my other guys. You know what I mean? And eventually he did tell me that. So, but he helped me out. He sent me all the resources and stuff like that. And then now fast forward a few months later, only 4 months later, he came to visit and he was like, he's seen on Google I have almost 65-star reviews. And that's great for a business that just started out 4 months ago. And he was like, wow, I'm proud of you. He was like, yeah, a few months back, he was like, not that I didn't think you could do it. He was like, I just didn't really believe you were going to. He was like, because I got so many guys on my caseload that say, oh, I'm going to start a business. And what do? They go right back to prison. He was like, but he was like, you're out here doing it, man. He was like, you're doing great. He was like, I'll see you again in like 4 months. And just left. Yeah, like he trusts me enough he just leaves me alone. He just checks in so he can put it down on paper that he checked in and he lets me do my thing. You know what I mean?
Looking back over your life up to this point, what's your two biggest regrets?
I say my two biggest regrets.
Knowing what you know now, knowing who you are now, or do you even have any?
One of my biggest regrets is doing what I did, the burglaries and the robberies, because I took from hardworking people that earned their stuff. They weren't out stealing from other people, you know what I mean? They used their hard-earned money to buy their stuff, and I went and took it. And my mom brought that up to me only about 3 months into my county sentence. The one day I called her, I call her once a day, every day while I was in there, and she started crying just out of nowhere, and she was like, why would you go steal people's stuff? Hardworking people. She was like, I know we didn't have everything growing up, but she was like, but I busted my ass to make sure that you had everything you wanted, or at least tried to. And that really hit. And ever since then, I started regretting what I did. I say my second regret is, but there's nothing I could do about it. But it was having to learn the way I did. I had to go to prison to gain experience and learn, rather than back then just being like, you know what, this is wrong, I can do another way. But I learned, and it's in the past now. You know what I mean?
If you could go back in time, is there any advice you would give your younger self?
Yeah, I would tell myself, one thing that I think we as parents should teach our kids in an early age is don't blow your money. You know what I mean? When you live with your parents, it's the perfect opportunity to stack your money. That way, when it's time to move out, you have a good amount of money. You stacked your money. You lived rent free, so all of that money's being put away. But we tend to blow it on clothes and stuff like that. But if I would have went back, I would have told myself, save my money, invest into a business, and just grind from there. But a lot of times we don't have nobody to teach us those things. So that's what I'm teaching my son today. You know what I mean? Every time I give him money or something like that, I'm like, you have the option to spend it. It's your money. I was like, but here's what is a smarter idea. You know what I mean? Sometimes he'll be like, yeah, put this away from me, Dad. Other times, like, I want some ice cream, which is cool. You know what I mean?
What's your next move? You got your job still. You got your mobile detailing business. What else coming up?
There's still a lot to come. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really motivated. Like, sometimes I got to sit back and take a breather because I go a little too hard sometimes. Like, I work like 16 hours a day. I do 8-hour shifts at night shift, and I come home and do detailing. But my next move is I'm investing in, I found an industrial heat press machine I want, and I'm currently looking at an embroidery machine. That's a little more expensive. It's like $15,000, but we're going to get there. But I started a little clothing brand. You know what I mean? It's called Made in Poverty.
Okay.
So down there, actually see the back. But I started that up. And I'm promoting it now, and then I'm gonna take orders. My first orders in January, and we'll see what the demand is for it. I actually came up with the name for this. I wanted to do like a clothing brand the whole time I was in prison, and the only thing I couldn't figure out was the name.
Yeah.
So it's funny. The last 2 weeks I was in prison when they put us on the quarantine block. I don't know if we talked about that yet, but we went to quarantine block because of COVID. So they want you to, quarantine before you get out, so you're not bringing anything out with you or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But now that was like the best time of prison because you're quarantined. You're in a cell by yourself for 14 days straight.
Yeah.
It got boring and you're locked in a lot further, but it gave me time to really sit down and think and put some additions to all the plans I was writing throughout the years.
Okay.
And it finally clicked. I was like, Made in Poverty. I was like, that's a good clothing brand name, Made in Poverty. So 8 years I thought about a name and I got it the last 2 weeks. Yep. And then another thing I want to do eventually, I want to start tufting rugs. And if nobody knows what tufting rugs is, basically making rugs. They got the rug. It's a tufting gun.
Yeah.
You hang up your sheet, you put the yarn in the tufting gun, and you shoot it on the sheet. And you make a rug. You cut it out. You shear it, and it just looks like I want to do something like that as like a hobby because it looks peaceful. You know what I mean, it looks like something, especially somebody like me that got ADHD and OCD. I could really focus in and just zone out, follow the lines and make some rugs. You know what I mean?
So as far as the clothing line, is it like how will they be able to order? You have a website set up yet?
Like I said, it's fresh, it's brand new, so there ain't too much followers or anything, but it's coming. You know what I mean? And it's not like just some quick hustle t-shirt brand. I'm getting quality. Like this is embroidered in here. It's not just pressed on there. And anything that I do get that I press, I'm making sure I'm investing in the best of quality. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So that's the main thing.
Yeah, yep. Like this right here, this is pretty much equivalent to the Nike Tech material. It's the same stuff. Yeah, it's got that stretchy silk feel. You know what I mean? Yeah, yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So man, we wish you continued success. And hopefully you keep us updated on what's happening next. People know where to find you at for your mobile detailing. Where do you do that out of Lancaster?
We service Lancaster, Columbia, Mount Joy, Marietta, Lebanon, York, Delta, PA, sometimes Gettysburg. I've went as far as Maryland. Got to get the permission of the PO and stuff for that. And we go pretty much. My normal is like a 25 to 35 mile radius, but if somebody requests I go out their way, and it's worth it, I'll be out there. You know what I mean? And my business is Detailed Finish Mobile Detailing, and it's based out in Columbia, PA. And you can find me on Google. I actually have an Instagram page for that too. Yeah, here it is. This one I spent a little time. I only had this page up for a few weeks, and I made sure I keep promoting it so I can get some followers and stuff like that. But here's one that I actually show you. One of my favorite ones I did, a 2022 Maserati Levante. I was glad this customer trusted me to handle his vehicle.
$100,000 vehicle, right?
Yeah, 160 grand. Yep.
So you got some skills then.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm still learning. Next month in December, there's a class this detail shop is holding, and it's to learn how to do paint correction. And paint correction is, buffing and polishing and removing deep scratches and things like that out of cars so you can make cars look brand new.
Yeah.
So I'll be learning that, and then I'm gonna keep learning. The detailing is only gonna grow. So a few years down the line, I want to learn how to wrap cars. I want to learn how to tint windows. It's just gonna keep going.
Again, we're glad you're out here making the world a better place. Hope there's more guys like you to follow.
I appreciate it.
If you could say anything to somebody about to get out, what would you tell them?
I would tell them the same thing my cousin told me, and shout out to my cousin, my big cousin Saul. He was a motivator for me. But like I said earlier in the interview, you just come out here and do what you're supposed to do. You don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder, and eventually you just forget you're on parole. Because the only people who care about being on parole, honestly, are the ones that are doing stuff they're not supposed to. Because then they're the ones that have to keep looking over their shoulder. Like, I don't have to do that. I'm not doing nothing illegal. So I don't care that I'm on parole because I know I'm going to walk it off. 10 years, I'm going to walk it off. No problem. You know what I mean?
beginning, the start of the mission, the journey to winning, the cycle was ending. I'm free, it feel like a dream. Pinch me, I gotta stay woke, survive my parole. Eyes on the goal, mode on go. My answer is no to your guns and your dope. That ain't looking out, that's my neck in the rope. Oh, hanging myself, that's playing myself. That ain't self-love, that's hating myself. Did too many years to forget how it felt. Forget who I hurt, I put in the work.
All right, so my marketer, he told me that he scheduled you for Saturday now. All right, not to inconvenience you at all, but could we do Wednesday?
Watch how big boss daddy does this shit. Count with me. Sesame Street bodybuilder edition.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Come on, bro. It's me we're talking about. You think I got these bad boys not eating ketchup and mustard?
I hate when people say must be nice, because when I was pulling the late nights and early mornings on Saturday and Sunday while you partied, I didn't hear must be nice. When I was chasing a dream no one else saw and got ridiculed and doubted, I didn't hear must be nice.
Yo, y'all know what time it is, baby. It's Friday night. You know what's in my cup, baby. You know what's in my cup. Ain't nothing in my fucking cup, pussy. I'm on parole, bitch.
If you think that you or someone you know would like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Surviving Parole, please have them send us a message on Instagram @Surviving Parole or YouTube @Surviving Parole.